Welcome to Group Dates and Hot Takes. I'm Sampy.
I'm Christy.
Let's talk about Married at First Sight. Hello, everybody. Wow, it is another day, another podcast. It always seems like these happen so quickly since the airing schedule is so tight. It's always day after day after day that these episodes come out, and so our podcast, look, we like to get these out as soon as possible, and so that's just it is what it is.
Yep, we just keep rolling along.
Oh yeah,
there's always something to talk about.
We keep rolling. Yeah, so we're back with Married at First Sight. I think we're in episode 12. It's very weird for me coming from Bachelor Nation, because that's where we started, obviously. That's where Christy introduced me to the reality TV space, and it's still a little hard for me to wrap my mind around the fact that this is episode 12 and we're still trucking. Like, we're like right in the thick of things, whereas typically this is the end. This is the end for Bachelor season.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a marathon, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we just did the finale for the Bachelorette season yesterday, and here we are, same number of episodes, and we're right in it. I mean,
there's still like 3 weeks till decision day.
At least. Or you think there are more than 3 weeks, or just 3 weeks?
Well, not in terms of episodes, but like the time they're married.
Yeah, because we're about 17 days away from decision day, and at least 3 weeks in real time, maybe 5 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, I think, at least 3 more.
Yes, so we'll be coming at you guys for a while here, and still chaos out in San Diego, huh?
Yeah, for some of these people.
Well, where would you like to start? Let's get into it.
Let's do Lindy and Miguel first, since that should be pretty quick.
Okay, let's do it.
So, for some reason, they're the only ones to receive a fake baby. I'm not sure the reasoning from the producers for that.
So, have there been robot babies before?
I don't remember seeing that on this show, but I could be wrong. There's been a lot of seasons.
So this, and
I haven't seen all of them, but
this could be the first robot baby, is what you're saying.
It could be.
Yeah, I guess if I am guessing, but if I had to guess, I would say that everyone else is in more of a fragile position,
and so they can't handle a baby.
So they couldn't handle, because look, I feel like we should describe this baby, because it's not just a doll. It is legitimately a robot baby
that cries. That's
like programmed, right?
Yes.
Like, talk me through, like, what was the actual deal with, like, what was up with it? What did it do?
Well, I guess it cried every so often. You had to feed it with this bottle. I think that's pretty much it. I think they had to change it too. Like it would make various responses, and you'd have to do certain actions to, like, placate it. Yeah, I always found the robot babies kind of creepy.
Yeah, that is true, though.
It's just weird.
I think they can be a good training tool. I don't know how it is in a situation like this, like a relationship sort of context, but I think they're used for, like, prospective parents and stuff like that, to, like,
see if you're ready.
Maybe not so much ready, but perhaps more of, like, can you handle it? Because we saw this throughout the episode. Like, they started off, like, they were like, oh, this is so hilarious. Wow, so they were calling it McGindy, which obviously is a combination of their names, but Baby McGindy, that was real weird. Originally it was like super cute. Oh, look at McGinty. Oh, this is so fun. Wow. And then by the end of it, they're like, oh my goodness, I slept like 3 hours last night. I want to get away from this thing. And they had only had it for like 2 days or something.
Yeah, it's like, is this really worth losing sleep over?
Yes, it is, because this episode is basically the relationship challenge episode. Everyone has some sort of challenge that they have to get through, questions that they have to answer in order to get to that deeper level in their relationship and really blossom into the full potential of their married at first sight coupleness. What did you think about their Lindy and Miguel's intimacy challenges? Because they got the baby, but they also had some like not associated stuff, but just like,
I think everyone had to answer basically the sex questions, like what do you like in the bedroom, some intimacy stuff.
Well, how did you feel about the body shots?
I thought for some reason I had seen the body shots where it's like the alcohol is actually on the body.
Oh yeah, there's a worse version where it's actually like in the belly button.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen, but then it ended up in the shot glass, and then I feel like she kind of choked when she tried to pick it up with her mouth and drink it.
Well, she is from a religious background.
She's a novice. So, I mean, I would have failed that as well.
Yes, but at least if you had been in this situation, at least you wouldn't have had to suck it out of his belly button.
True.
So, I was very glad that it was a shot glass just on his belly.
She also wanted chocolate-covered strawberries in the bedroom, which is a very tame thing in terms of all the other things we saw this episode.
Yeah. We saw some terrible things. I also just feel like, well, unless she was talking about actually like doing stuff with the chocolate covered strawberries, because that's the trope you see a lot, right? It was like, oh, we're gonna have whipped cream and chocolate sauce in the bedroom, which it just seems real freaking gross to me personally. But but no, this is like, oh yeah, I just like to have this romantic evening, and we'll just have a plate of chocolate covered strawberries, which is so delightfully innocent. It really is. I love that. They also had to gaze into each other's eyes
for 2 minutes.
Yes, well, thinking about like romantic thoughts, I guess, which they both went back to their wedding day.
Of course.
Oh, it just warms your heart.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was pretty much all we saw from them.
Yeah, and most of this was just dealing with McGinty.
Yes.
Which I feel like, I don't know, I personally feel like I would have a hard time with a robot baby, because it's like, I mean, like, with real baby, yeah, okay, we're going to deal with this. We're going to do all the steps. But it's like robot baby, there's still so much temptation, for me at least, of like, I'm just going to throw this out of the window, because it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, why didn't they just take the batteries out at night?
Because that wouldn't be abiding by the rules of the challenge. You can't just be like Mitch, because Mitch later said something about how he would have like chucked it in the closet.
Yeah.
Which is very peak Mitch,
yes.
I have to say. Though that doesn't seem like a recycling sort of thing to me. But yeah, it was just kind of weird, because like they went to bed with it, and so they were like swaddling it in bed, and
the whole thing is just so
and
weird.
It was like starting to cry, and so they were trying to figure, because I guess you have to, are there sensors in it? Maybe you have to do certain, like pat it or rock it gently to get it to stop crying and stuff. Or like have to give it its bottle, which Miguel, of course, just, maybe you want to like test out the breastfeeding thing. It's a very, very guy thing to do. Gosh, guys are so gross. Just only thinking of sex all the time. Ugh, unbelievable. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like this episode,
we focused on other couples.
Yeah, we really did. Let's see.
Should we do yes or no on them?
Yes, absolutely, we need to.
I feel like for me it's still a yes, because we didn't really see any huge drama with them this week, so.
Yeah, I will also go with yes. I mean, it's so hard to sit here and give these ratings when they like very intentionally try to give us uncertainty in the promos that we see after. Because if you go by that, it's like, no, none of these people made it. And maybe none of them did. Let's be real. This season has been a little bit of a disaster in most quarters. But I'll still go with yes. I think that if they continue to build in a positive direction and they can kind of rein in each other's sort of weirdness, like Lindy is real weird. I'm sorry, but that's just. And he's no cakewalk either, but like, man, she is weird.
She had a weird upbringing.
I know.
I feel like I can't blame her too much for some of her little quirks and stuff.
I shouldn't judge. I know, but I still do.
Well, let's do Stasha and Nate.
Oh boy, the only things I have for them are things I don't want to talk about.
Well, there was a little bit before that topic with Dr. Pia, because this episode, everybody met with her.
Mm-hmm. Which, this is a great time for me to ask you, how do you think she's doing?
You know, there was like this weird, I don't know if this is like a therapist thing or just like a weird cadence from her, but every time she was talking with the couples, she was like super, super calm, like with her like questions she would ask them. Almost she was, I don't know, it was just something that I noticed or picked up on, that it was the same with every single couple she talked to.
You mean calmness in terms of her volume?
Well, just volume and also like tone of voice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It was just like this very like measured response to everything. So
yeah, I mean, I think that that can be a therapist thing. I mean, different therapists are different, of course, but it's been my experience where it's like it's sort of the therapist is supposed to be this like neutral force.
Yeah, she did feel neutral.
You know, where you can kind of be in the position of, okay, taking this information and the situation that's happening and ask helpful questions, but also not be like contributing to the emotional state in a negative way.
Yeah, she had a way of like calming the emotions and also like getting to the root of what the issue was.
Right, because for so many people, like, and that's just the real life truth, I think, is that it's very difficult to get to the root of your own problems a lot of the time. So like you'll just be stomping around like, I can't believe this person is doing this and blah 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 blah, and then it's like it turns out that you're super upset because you've never been able to fully express what you wanted because your family didn't care about you, and so like now you just walk around with a chip on your shoulder, and it's like, oh, I guess these people aren't that awful. I have stuff I need to deal with. Or like that's just completely random.
It seemed like she knew her stuff. Like she seemed pretty good at what she does, knowledgeable. So
she has some real aggressive pink lipstick though.
I mean, I went with her outfit. She had like this lime green shirt and some pink pants. It absolutely did.
It was just very loud. which isn't typical therapist attire, at least in my experience. But
well, she's also on TV, so you gotta like
got to put together an outfit.
Right. She looked good. It was just like, dang, that is bright. That is real bright. Okay, so we have to talk about the sex dungeon.
Well, there was one thing she said to Stasha that I wanted to bring up.
Please do.
Because Nate talked about how Stasha doesn't always trust him, and then Dr. Pia asked, does Stasha connect trust with control? Which I thought was interesting.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
So then she's like, well, I need you guys to do an exercise where Nate is completely in control, and then that leads them to the sex dungeon.
Yes, because, and I don't know necessarily if this progression tracks super well for me. It's like, I don't know. Is this really the best way to be like, oh, you kind of like have to have control. Go get tied up and be freaky, and like that's how you'll get through that.
I think it's just a TV thing. Like let's do the absolute most.
I know
that we can.
So they went to a little Airbnb.
First off, the whole location for this was weird. It's like they were trekking off on a journey. We went to this like stone, like building off in the forest.
That's what I'm saying. It's like a little, a cute little rustic Airbnb.
It weirded me out from the beginning.
Out in the forest, but yeah, I mean, it really was just like one room and a bathroom. Like it was a tiny little.
Yeah, like where did the producers find this?
I'm telling you, on Airbnb.
I don't even want to know what they were searching to find on Airbnb.
Yeah, so essentially, they show up to this little room, and there's all manner of adult things.
Yep, all kinds of sex toys and other, like, accessories.
Like, just a bunch of, like a bunch of whipped cream and, like, melted chocolate and just all sorts of things.
Yes, he ends up handcuffing her to the bed, blindfolded, puts whipped cream in her mouth. Because at first she doesn't want to open her mouth, which I wouldn't either. It's like, I don't know what you're about to put in there.
I know. I mean...
And then she spit it out, which was disgusting.
I don't know if she intentionally spit it out, but it, like, fell out of her mouth. Because, with, like, the whipped cream that's, compressed in the cans, it's sort of when you spray it out, it like, goes into little... sort of globs of the stuff.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she just like had a glob of it in her mouth, and he wanted to put more in, and she opened her mouth, and just like this ball of whipped cream just like falls out of her mouth. It was
disgusting.
Ugh. I was uncomfortable.
And then he like tried to do something. What was going on underneath the blanket? With the camera people standing right there filming.
I don't know. He like put a blanket over his head, and then I don't know if he was like tickling her or like kissing her belly, or I don't want to imagine what was happening there. But it was also just weird that we were being forced to watch this.
She ended up in a swing as well.
This is stuff that should never have been filmed.
I would agree.
I don't know. I understand the like, oh, open your mouth. No, I don't want to. But it's just like, and I guess maybe she didn't know whether the camera people were there, but it's like, yeah, in that situation, you never know what's going to get put in your mouth. Mm-hmm. It could be anything.
I think this is a good time to also mention that on After Party, Stasha revealed that she likes having her toes sucked.
No, that's so bad. I don't want anything the kids call it kink shaming, but that's just real weird to me.
Yeah, I don't get that. And then like they showed like a deleted scene where like he poured chocolate sauce on her toes and then sucked them.
Yes, it was also just it was just a strange progression to me, because so she went and like washed off, I think it was her left foot, and then she hopped back into the bedroom on her right foot so that she didn't get her left foot dirty again, and then gave her left foot to him to like pour chocolate sauce on and stuff. It was just like,
yeah, because Nate didn't want to suck on a dirty toe.
Well, look, I still have PTSD from last season of Bachelor in Paradise, man, when they did that same thing. And let me tell you,
her toes were sandy.
Yeah, and probably like crab poop and
disgusting,
all sorts of nonsense. So at least
she had the decency to wash
at
first.
Least she did, but still, that's just real weird to me. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, you do you, girl. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say about that.
Yep. So yes or no on them?
I'm still going to go yes.
Me too. No major drama this week.
No major drama. Any other reasons?
I mean, the previews look a little concerning, but based on what we've seen so far, they seem to be vibing.
I know you can't allow the previews to cloud your mind.
No.
You gotta go with what's in front of us right now. Yeah, I think they're good for the moment. Whether they stay that way could be a totally different story.
Let's move on to Kristen and Mitch.
Okay.
So the first thing we see, this was a real interesting episode for Mitch.
Oh, no.
But he chats with a friend and admits that he made some jokes in the bedroom that didn't go over well.
Yeah, and who knows what he was up to, but it probably was pretty bad. But here's my whole thing about that is there's a difference, in my opinion at least, of like acknowledging the like weird and wackiness of sex versus just being what I called Mitch here is where did it go? Oh no, I lost it. Being a comedian in the bedroom. Like there is a difference there. And
they don't know each other long enough, I guess, for him to know what the line is, and he crossed it.
Right, especially like with Mitch, I have zero confidence that it wasn't just something like, "Oh wow, your boobs are weird," or like something like, "Haha, wow, that's so funny."
I mean, based on the other things we've heard him say, I don't blame her for being offended by it because he doesn't always have the best judgment with saying stuff to her. So
no, he just has very poor judgment, and it's not just for her. I mean, I think he has a very hard time understanding when to shut up and how, I think in particular, how people perceive things. So yeah, that's a little weird. And so we do find out that their sex life is currently on hold because of Mitch the comedian.
Yes, he's like, yeah, sex is built up so much in real life, or in the movies, but in real life it's awkward and funny. There's weird sounds and fluids.
Right, that's true, but that doesn't mean you have to, like, there's definitely a line.
Yeah,
there.
You don't have to turn it into a joke. And Kristen's even like, yeah, maybe 10 years down the line that could work, but like we're new and that just isn't going to fly right now.
No, so they have taken a step back. She's like, I'm not going to be sleeping with you if you're going to be cracking jokes about my boobs, okay?
I know, it's quite a step back from earlier when she was like, yeah, we're going at it like bunnies or whatever.
Like going for, man, never put it past Mitch to just ruin a good thing.
I know.
like, especially in context, like if you think about Mitch and Kristen versus the other couples, like Morgan and Binh have just been stonewalled this entire season, even during the honeymoon. Like you have Justin and Alexis, who had a ton of good stuff happening in the honeymoon, but were never sexually active, never were particularly intimate in any sort of way. Like you compare them to most of the other, and they had such a great thing there. They were just like firing on all cylinders, and then Mitch is just like ruining everything. Which, speaking of ruining everything,
should we move on to the Kristen story?
Yes, we should.
So she tells like this really like heartfelt story because like Pia asks like who was her childhood hero, so she talks about her mom. And
yeah, this is going back, and I found this a little interesting that so everybody had these questions, but not everybody got to, and I guess maybe it was just where they were at. She wanted to like have some supervision for some of these questions because everybody had questions, but most of them were just going over them by themselves. But yeah, so talking about her mom, right?
Yeah, being a Cuban immigrant and how she like fought to get where she is. She's like really successful now. And then after all that, Mitch just has to do his Mitch thing and be like, wait, I thought she asked for a childhood hero. This is present tense.
Right, which can I also just say that Mitch answered the question first and had a pretty generic answer about how he like really liked superheroes when he was a kid and all this
To
stuff.
me, that's lamer than what Kristen said.
Right, and it just comes down to the fact that Mitch is pedantic. He has to pick at everything, and for him, I think being technically correct is the best kind of correct.
Yeah, that did not go over well with Kristen, though.
No, she was very angry about this.
She's like, I just wanted you to say it was a nice story. Like,
Right, and look, we've been over this before, but Mitch is kind of a ruiner, and at the end of the day, she doesn't want his challenges for stupid stuff. She wants him to be supportive.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time he is unable to do that. I wrote down, Kristen just about divorced him right there.
I also wish Dr. Pia had, like, said a little bit more to him when he did that, because I felt like that was kind of rude of him, and so...
Yeah, I
guess she kind of just let them work it out themselves, but...
Yeah, which they kind of did, but my observation is that it's and this isn't a particularly inspired observation, but I feel like it's going to be super tough to continue like in a relationship if someone is just like constantly having to pick apart stuff. Like if they're gonna be married and at every little thing Mitch is just like, well, actually
that would get old.
You did this wrong. Like that's just sort of thing that really I think is defeating. It's very defeating because even if you can kind of like in this situation be like, okay, yeah, you didn't understand how I felt, blah 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 blah, you can resolve that. I think it really does take a toll.
Yeah, if he keeps doing that, like every other day, there's something.
Right, and it just builds resentment. And it kind of builds that like, well, what am I supposed to do? Every single thing you like I do or say or how I view things, like going back to her dream of flipping houses, like for everything, there's going to be like, well, you actually could do better, or you should do this differently because that's the wrong way to do things. I think unless he learns how to control that, then they're kind of toast, because it's just eventually Kristen will divorce him because it's so infuriating to deal with and just like hurtful to her soul, I think.
Yep, so the next thing we saw was them on the beach, and I think there was a question like, what was the hardest thing you've had to endure or something? So he mentioned that he tried to start a sunscreen business for surfers in non-plastic packaging, which is the most Mitch business ever. Like, of course that would be what he tried to do.
That is pretty funny, and that
it's so specific.
It is very specific, but that I guess was the toughest thing for him, and kind of
helped him get to where he is today and the work that he does, and that failure was really, really tough for him. I did want to mention as well, before they got to this point, Kristen was saying that she wanted the Mitch from last week.
Yeah.
Basically, she wants him to be consistent. Like he's very inconsistent. Like he takes in her criticism and like the things that he needs to do better, and then he does better, and then he kind of falls back into his old patterns, And so like last week, he was attentive and vulnerable and open to her, and she just like, with every fiber of her being, wants him to be consistent in that.
That's hard for him, though.
It's very hard. But speaking of hard, they also talked about their favorite sex positions.
She likes doggy style.
Why did you say that? I'm gonna have to put a parental advisory on this episode.
They
now.
said it on the episode.
I know.
And he likes it as well.
This was really awkward for me, mostly because I felt like he is not good at sex.
Oh, okay.
Just like,
I know what you mean.
like everything he said there kind of came back to like, oh yeah, this is what makes me feel good. Like I gotta do this. It was like, and I know they were talking about their favorite, so that the element of your own satisfaction is part of that, obviously, but
it made it seem like he doesn't finish unless it's this way. What a weird thing to discuss on TV.
Yeah, and just the fact that like, yeah, he has to be in control to like be sexually satisfied. Are you really surprised by that? I'm not.
No.
It's so weird. I didn't want to talk about this.
Well, we can move on to their little intimacy exercise.
Yes. So as a stepping stone to trying to get back to actual sexy time, they have some assignments to do like I guess touch exercises.
Yeah, this is a common thing on previous seasons.
So explain this to me then.
Well, I guess they take turns being blindfolded and like pouring hot wax and just like touching legs and stuff like that, just figuring out like what they like. It's just another awkward thing to watch on television.
Yeah, I guess is the point to be like, oh, see, we can like be physically intimate without having to be like, oh, we need to have sex.
I guess it's more like you said, a stepping stone.
Okay.
I mean, they always put the like music on top of it to make it seem like things are about to happen, but
no, she isn't letting that happen. Not yet. Not for now.
No. Anything else before we decide if they stay together
nope.
or not?
Let's. What do you think? Yes or no?
I think I'm back to a no this week.
Oh boy. I'm so on the fence. I'm gonna be a little Mitch right now. I'm gonna still say yes. It's such a tentative yes, but if they can get back to the place of last week, and Mitch can overcome himself, they should be good.
That's a big ask.
I know. I just put a ton of conditions and qualifications on that. But yeah, I don't want to just always agree with you. That would make for a boring podcast.
I know.
Oh, man.
Should we do Morgan and Ben real quick? There wasn't much from them.
Sure.
It was the whole thing was basically just Dr. Pia meeting with them.
Mm-hmm.
Which this just continues to just go around in circles. Morgan making a huge deal about, I also wonder, is there stuff we haven't seen? Because it just seems like her level of anger, like we said before, doesn't match what we think is the transgression, which is just Binh ranting to Justin.
So, first of all, it is entirely possible that there's stuff that we haven't seen. However, I don't know that necessarily is super applicable. Like, I feel like in this case we've seen enough to make an accurate judgment. And I say that because one thing that Morgan has said repeatedly is, and I forget the exact wording, but the gist is she doesn't give people second chances. That just isn't something she does. Like, she's referenced this multiple times about, like, normally it would just be over. I'd be out of here. Like, he gave me crap about the nursing thing. I'm done. I'm out of here. And so I feel like even though, like, it is possible that there's some stuff we didn't hear, but even though that is probably the case, I think she's so traumatized by her life experience that it's not possible for her to let this go. And so she, like, maybe pretended to let it go briefly, and then another thing happened, and it fed into each other and solidified that, like, I'm not going to do anything. Because she does say here that she'd be able to accept a full apology. But, like...
Yeah, what does that mean? That's what I was wondering this whole time. Like, what does Binh have to do for it to register as this full, genuine apology? Because I thought he had already apologized, but I guess that wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's at least tried to apologize multiple times, and I'm not gonna fully excuse Binh here. Like, I think that he was stupid and did things he shouldn't have done. I mean, there's a whole chain of nonsense here. I mean, he shouldn't have been so conflict averse and just went into vent to Justin, especially not after Justin was proven to be completely untrustworthy and just a complete and total sieve of information there. Like, so there are all these steps of, like, well, Binh shouldn't have done that. Like, he shouldn't have kept doing that after she asked him not to. Like, he really shouldn't have. He should have vented to somebody who wasn't an idiot and who didn't have his calls on speakerphone. And, like, there's a whole cycle of idiocy here, obviously. And so I'm not going to say that Binh is blameless in this. I think that there are a lot of things that he's dealing with as well. And so she reacted because of her past trauma. He reacted because of his past trauma. And so they've been going around in circles. But, yeah, I don't know if it's just, like, if he wasn't sobbing when he apologized that she won't accept it. Like, I don't know as well. I mean, I put in my notes after this in all caps, how, what?
I don't know. She kept mentioning, like, I need real emotions for him. Like, so she has to be the judge of whether his emotions are real.
Right.
It's just...
Which is a little...
It's too much.
It's a little silly and also just kind of counterproductive, because she says she's willing to accept a full apology, but she's also the complete arbiter of that and is also highly invested in being upset with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just what I kind of wish that Dr. Pia had like done something along these lines, but I feel like you almost need to have a mediated apology where like you can have that person there be like, okay, this is what you've agreed to, Morgan. I'm going to sit here, and I know you're super closed off and you're not able to do anything, but I'm, as a third party that knows all this information, I'm going to be here for this apology and tell you whether or not it was heartfelt. Because clearly you are so disconnected from like just like a healthy headspace that there's nothing he can do.
No, I think at this point they just need to hang it up.
Yeah, and,
both go home. This is over.
Right, and can I just say too, and this is from later when the men and women get together, but what the heck is wrong with Lindy? Because she looks at Morgan and sees this emotionally intelligent and mature woman, and I know that like Lindy basically grew up in a cult. and look, I don't want to sit here and crap on Seventh-day Adventists, because I don't think as a whole they're like how her parents were.
Yeah, probably not.
I've known some very nice and wonderful Seventh-day Adventists. I think she had kind of a Seventh-day Adventist upbringing with a side of all of the issues that her parents had, which kind of exacerbated everything. But still, yeah, like emotionally intelligent, mature, those are the last things I think of when
I think she takes everything Morgan says at face value.
Yeah.
So in her mind, Morgan is this wronged wife that Binh has just betrayed. So
right, and it's not even that she wasn't wronged.
That's what's so hard about this. Like, Binh is technically in the wrong, but Morgan is just so over the top and so mean to him that it makes Binh the victim. So yeah,
I want to be on her side, but it just, again, it still boils down to like I feel like she's continuing to want to punish him. Mm-hmm. And this is just another way. It's like, yeah, I'll accept a full apology, but you really won't define that, and so you keep him suspended in this state of like, well, I want to be married and I want this to work, but I don't know what to do, and you just like combine that with Binh's personality. Like, look, I don't blame him for finding her incredibly scary.
Oh, I would too. Even just like when they were waiting for Dr. Pia to arrive, her body language, she was just like scowl on her face, arms crossed, sitting on the other side of the couch.
Well, and yes, I don't want to be too unfair to her, because I think she had just finished at least a 10-hour shift as a nurse. That's true. So I don't want to just be like, well, even the way contributed, but yeah,
or even the way she stomped into the room last week when it was time for Binh to read his letter. Anyway, these two are a no, obviously.
Yeah, it would be a freaking miracle.
There's just no way.
There's too much trauma on both sides.
I mean, it's telling that the only footage we saw of them together was with Dr. Pia.
Right. Well, they are separated.
Yeah. They're not even they're not even living together. So.
Nope. It's over. Like.
It has been over.
Divorce. Just live your lives. Use this to try to become a better person in the future. Like.
Yep.
Go do therapy for like ever.
Our last couple is Alexis and Justin.
Oh wow, we're trucking right along here, and
this was a mess.
Oh man,
this whole thing.
The Married at First Sight San Diego's golden couple have fallen so far.
Their whole argument this episode hinged on her wanting to go out with friends each weekend.
So I wanted to ask you about that because I got a bit confused because I thought that was the argument, that it was every weekend. But then at some point later, like, I don't know if it was her or somebody else was saying that it was only like once a month. So do you know?
I remember hearing like her saying Justin wouldn't have been okay with her going out twice a month. I don't know.
I don't know. It was at least, it seemed like it was at least a couple weekends, maybe every weekend.
See, I don't think, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but if it truly is just a couple hours once a week, her hanging out with her friends, I don't think that's that bad.
Taking a strong stand here.
That isn't that, like, he can have the whole rest of the day with her. She can have brunch with her friends for a couple hours.
Excuse me, it's not brunch. So here's the thing. In my opinion, at least, I feel like it wasn't just about the time. I think it was the setting as well. Because as I understood it, and I've been wrong before, I could be wrong here, but my understanding was that when they were going out, they were going to the club. They were like going clubbing.
Yeah, clubbing was mentioned also. I don't know if that was like a different night or...
I mean, the impression that I got was that she was going clubbing with her friends every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, she did say she is not a homebody. She likes to turn up.
Yeah,
words.
She's like, I don't think you understand how much I turn up. Like, I could go out to the club. What did she say? Like Monday to Saturday or something like that. Every day, and still be at work on time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess once you get married, you can't really keep that up.
Yeah, it's just tough because these are not conversations that we should be having. These are conversations that they should be having. This is something that they have to figure out as a couple. That's just the reality. And me personally, I mean, I do kind of side more on like the Nate argument, where it's like, well, what? You're married. Why are you like going clubbing all the time? But like different people have different personalities and priorities and stuff. It's just you have to figure that out within like the nucleus of your own couple. You know, so what works for me may not work for somebody else. And so that's I guess what I'm saying is I don't think they've been able to have those conversations. And so at the end of the day, it boils down to they are just unable to communicate effectively with each other. They can't do it. And so they get stuck in this rut of going back and forth. And so like in this case, at least, like Justin's a total homebody and Alexis is like, I just want to be out all the time. And you have to find some sort of balance and equilibrium there, but you can't just like Alexis, oh, I'm just going to go out all the time, or Justin, oh, I'm so upset about this. Like, you have to figure it out.
Yeah, I also think he interprets her going out as like she doesn't want to hang with me, which might not that might not be true. That's just the way he's interpreting it.
It also may be true, and I wouldn't entirely blame her. But I also think that at some level he is too boring for her.
I mean, based on her wanting to turn up, I that's probably true.
Which, like, because he also works at home. So he works at home, but he also just wants to be home all the time.
I guess he's not a partier like her.
Right, but I'm sure not everything she was doing was partying. That's why it was hard for me to interpret exactly what was going on, whether it was truly like they were going clubbing every weekend, or if it was just like they were going clubbing, once or twice a month and going to brunch or whatever, shopping or whatever it is, the other times. She did mention, because Alexis was on the after party, that she has invited him to stuff.
And he didn't want to go. Yeah, that kind of puts it on him a little bit. Like, she's trying to include you.
Right. And so, again, it's hard for me to sit here and say, oh, this is the solution. But you would think, right, if she is inviting him, that he should go some of the time. Even because, again, it doesn't have to be something you love to do. But, like, if the bugaboo, highly technical term there, is specifically really boiled down to, I want to spend time with you, you're going to need to be a little flexible from both sides, but you're going to need to be a little flexible in how that time happens, because different people have different priorities and different interests. And so if you're just like, I will not engage with you unless you are spending time with me in my approved way of spending time with me, then I'm just going to ignore you and have a fit about it. That doesn't end up being helpful.
And there was another huge sticking point this episode, because Dr. Pia was like asking like quite a few questions to Alexis in a row, I think trying to get to the root of it. And Alexis finally admits she's not ready to be married to Justin in particular. And this
won't cause problems.
This did not go over well. Justin's like, I'm putting you as my beneficiary. Like, whoa, okay, these two are not even in the same book right now.
No, they're not.
And so eventually, Alexis is like, this convo is unconducive to my mental health. There's unrealistic expectations for me being a wife. I'm not an unfit wife if I want to hang with my friends. And so at this point, he takes his ring off. This is quickly going downhill.
Yeah, my observation is they're in a cycle of pain.
Yeah, and they keep each saying things that hurt each other, even though they say they don't mean to hurt each other.
Yeah, but it keeps happening, and they don't have the vocabulary or something to be able to speak each other's language.
Yeah, there's a disconnect here, and there has been since the dog incident.
Oh yeah, that.
So later on, we kind of repeat sort of the same argument again, where she's like, remember in your vows you wanted me to be free? Well, that means I want to like go out with my friends, but he interpreted that as it means being true to yourself.
He's like, no, don't be free in that way. Oh, yeah, I mean,
they keep missing each other.
Yeah, I feel like their therapist assigned questions didn't go particularly well.
No, especially when well, I guess a little later, I guess Alexis wanted to spice things up, and now there's a dancing pole in the kitchen.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense on some weird level that you're like, oh, there's a disconnect. Let me just rent a stripper pole.
I mean, ultimately, I don't think this ended up accomplishing much, but
no, it ended up, in fact, setting them back more.
Yeah, because part of this exercise was them each putting on a blindfold and being able to say all of their feelings without the other person interrupting. And
Justin starts.
Yes. He's like, I feel like I'm number 2 compared to your friends and your dog. Mm-hmm. You're not ready to be married. And he's frustrated that she has not asked how he's feeling about having to leave, I guess, his dog at the training center.
Yeah.
He says we want different things.
It was hard.
Yeah, I still love you, but he just unloaded everything, basically.
Yeah, he didn't hold back.
No.
And he's like, oh, that felt good to say. I mean, I put the final nail in the coffin of my marriage, but it felt good.
And so then it's her turn to speak and basically is like, yeah, I'm thankful for you, thankful for the time we've had, good and bad. Your family is wonderful.
I think you're doing the best you can.
This was hilarious to me because that was basically like a goodbye speech.
Oh, I know.
That was like, that's what you say after you've said no on decision day.
Yes, I just know it sounds like Alexis has given up, and that's even
pretty much.
They talked about that in the after party. They're like, girl, it was like you're like, I'm out of here. She's like, what? Like, yes. Anybody listening to that would be like, yeah, no, she's done. She is so done. That's like the I don't want to hurt you a ton, but this isn't working, and like, goodbye.
Yep. She even said, like, I held back. I wanted him to get his feelings out. Didn't want to ruin the moment.
Oh man, that's real tough.
And then I didn't write down much from this, but at the very end of the episode, there was a whole yelling match. I guess they were kind of yelling about the same things again, and a producer had to step in and mediate.
The producer's just like, if I don't do something, they are going to kill each other. I love how too she's like, so she goes into the bathroom because it was again they're away from the cameras, but they're screaming loud enough that you can hear everything. And so the producer lady goes into the bathroom and she's like, hey, so and she's like standing there trying to like talk to Justin about stuff as Alexis is like angrily doing her evening routine. And she's like, okay, come on. And it brings them out to the kitchen table, back to the camera. It's like, we need to talk about this.
Well, she's doing the job of the experts.
Yeah. And probably not paid enough for that, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, he really cannot handle the going to the club thing. He just, that's, and I know that's probably fairly surface level, and there are other issues attached to that. I do think that he was very honest in his blindfold speech. Like, I do think that is really how he feels. Like, he doesn't feel important to her. And I don't think that that's fully because he isn't important to her. I just think that they show that in very different ways. And so it's hard to be on the same page because they like show affection in different ways, and like him at the table talking about how like, well, you know, because they still have not had sex.
Yeah, he says he's tried multiple times.
Right, he's tried multiple times, and again, whether that's like a sexual dysfunction thing, whether that's just she's like, no, I'm not gonna.
It seemed like it was Alexis not wanting to, but
that, I mean, in that conversation, yes, it's been more ambiguous in the past, but yeah, it seemed like she didn't want to, and so he takes that very personally, which I'm not going to sit here and blame him totally for that, because like, you're married to someone, you want them to desire you, but I think they show desire in very different ways, and so it's a whole dumpster fire.
I think they are a no for me.
Oh boy,
it's not looking good.
Yeah, he's gonna have to be a no for me as well. They can't communicate. They can't understand each other.
That's the bottom line. He's said it multiple times too. I feel like you don't understand me.
Right, and so they just go in circles because they're speaking different languages, and I don't think they're bad people. I think they're trying, but they just lack that language to actually get through, and so they just end up hurting each other time and time again, and going in this painful cycle of getting told, mean things, or things just sort of picking at them, or just like things said in exasperation. It's just all that stuff. It's sad to see. I always don't like to see the dissolving of this marriage that seemed so promising in the beginning. So sad.
Well, unfortunately, if your marriage is only promising at the honeymoon, that's not a good sign.
No, and I feel like it was perhaps only promising in the honeymoon because he wanted it so bad. Like, he wanted it to work so bad that he was just like so over the top. And so she was able to go along with that initially, even though like she's still, I don't know. Do you think at the end of the day that the whole celibacy conversations just ruined all of this? I feel like that was like the biggest thing, kind of.
I don't know. I think it was more of like a shock thing for her. Like, he's celibate for a year. Like, I mean, they could have ended that on the honeymoon. So
I still think that was incredibly rude of her. By the way.
It totally was,
and very much fits what's happened since with like the going to Morgan and everything.
Yeah. By the way, her outfit on After Party was like, wow.
What, you didn't like it?
It actually like fit her. Like, I would never wear that. It was like a lime green deep V-neck pantsuit with lime green high heels. I mean, it was a look.
That woman likes to be loud. In fashion.
I don't know. It somehow it works for her though.
Well, thank goodness for that. Is there anything you want to talk about with the men and women get together?
Not really. I feel like we covered most of it.
Okay. I mean, the only thing I want to say is I was just cracking up at how the guy, because Miguel took McGindy to the men's get together, and that was pretty well received. But it was funny to watch. I guess like, well, I guess you guys are the only ones doing well enough to get a baby.
I guess so.
That was pretty funny. Pretty funny. So, do you have anything else to end with?
I don't think so.
No more observations. We're just along for the ride. Who knows how many more weeks this is going to be? Who knows who is going to survive? Who is not going to survive? There may be 4 no's or 5 no's on decision day for all we know. It's entirely possible. This season has kind of been a train wreck through and through. Christy, how can people get in contact with us?
You can email us at groupdatespod@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at groupdatespodcast.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're out there, and we love hearing from our loyal listeners. It's always great to get that engagement and just have fun with you guys. That's the big thing for us, is just having fun.